Hey, welcome to the video series covering the features of the toolbox called HyperWorks Lift Ship. In this video, I'll be covering specifically setting up a turn with cable contact. So this will be through the lift manager. As with my other videos, I'm going to go ahead and drag and drop my final mesh in here. That is good to go with good quality mesh. And go ahead and click on your lift manager to go ahead and load it. And just follow through the steps. We'll create our gravity, 100 millimeters per second squared. Go ahead and click save. And in this one, I'm going to orient it in such a way that I want to generate cable contact. So I think with this one, let's see if -90 will do what I'm looking for. Okay, good. So if it didn't work, you just click undo. Basically what I want to simulate is the pad eyes here will be lifting in the Z direction, and it'll just be about at the end of where these points will be released, so almost at the stage of a free hang. Let me turn off those points, look a little noisy. So great, so let's go ahead and work on our cable contact. Okay, maybe what I should do just before that is review the normals. Maybe folks have already forgotten. It's going to be fairly important. Let me zoom in here. And I'm displaying vectors, which is why it's getting a little slow. I wanted to make sure everyone remembered that the vector, the normal, needs to be pointing outwards. This is going to help with our generating of the cable contact. So again, please double check that. We'll go ahead and click return here, go back to our lift manager, and go back to our orientation. So we'll go ahead and select our node, and this will basically be a start node for seeding of the contact. So I'm intentionally thinking of this pad eye. We'll go ahead and select this, and then we'll go ahead and select the component that we will basically be seeding where this contact will occur. It's going to be along a principal axis, so this will be the kind of a plane, a normal plane to this. So let's go ahead and change this to 50 and hit preview. So here it's going to give us a nice little preview of what that contact will look like. And it looks like I forgot to select some additional components, so let's go ahead and go back here. Let's go ahead and go back to selecting my components. There we go. So I want to select all of those. So let me just close out of this, go back to my lift manager. Okay, we'll select that seed node. Select our components. Okay, and so maybe I want to refine some of those. So maybe we'll do 80. Go ahead and hit preview and update that. So maybe this will be good for my first go. This is be a good way of modeling like a chain, each of those C-gap elements. In areas that we might want to make sure that we have some nodes where we'll have some contact, we can go ahead and click add node. And if we hold down Alt, we can actually just click right on the model. It won't necessarily snap to any part. Okay, we'll go ahead and click right there. This might be a area of interest. So if we wanted to add more nodes and so on and so forth, we could do that as well. So maybe we need some more fidelity in this location. Okay, so the next one we'll want to do after we previewed it, added a node, reject or just create. And then what we could do is go over to our live ship and go to our contact manager, browser, and go ahead and scroll on down here and go ahead and hit Q to review that. Okay, so those would be the nodes that will be used for the contact. If you remember, I didn't accept those other ones. Those are just kind of temp nodes floating in space. We'll clean up some of them, I think. Otherwise, we'll kind of ignore the rest of them. These will be the ones that are being used for the contact. It is going to be a node to surface type of contact. You can kind of see listed here. We have our master and secondary, and then we have our node to surface type contact. So let me do one more just to kind of do maybe a little more clear of a workflow. We'll do it on this this backside as well. Select that node. Make sure all of our components are selected, and we'll go ahead and click yes and preview, and then we'll go ahead and add a node to those areas of interest. Go ahead and hold down Alt, click, and zoom in here, click, and I think we'll be good, and we hit create. And then when it gets done, we'll review that contact as well. Okay. And there's our other contact set. All right. So the next thing we need to do before we do any of the, maybe we could do it here at the cable modeling. So maybe we'll move on. Let's do the crane head location. Go ahead and exit out of that view. Similar to my other view, my other video, what we're going to do is go ahead and click over to nodes, and we're going to create those kind of pick point. I call them crane. They could be, just lifting points as well. We're going to go ahead and select those two, and hit Control C, Control V, and then we'll just move those up here. Just kind of get them out of the way. So those will be one of the locations, and then the other location might be, a little bit over here. I'm not sure how close those crane heads can get to one another, but let's just say they'll go exit out of here. Go Control C, Control V, and just move those right on over here. So maybe we'll have a little bit of contact all the way up to those locations, so maybe -1,000. So again, I'm not a lifting engineer or specialist by trade, so it's really going to be up to those individuals who know specifically where these locations are to input those. But in principle, this will be the workflow that you follow. So let's go ahead and create those crane head locations just to make a nice little note of where those are. Go ahead and again follow those steps that I illustrated in the previous video. Just kind of refresh our memory here. And do C3. And last but not least, we'll do this one as well. Okay, so great. Now we can see where our crane heads are, and we can move on to the cable modeling. So modeling cable contacts can be a little different because we're going to kind of need to use our best judgment of how this cable is going to wrap around the model. The solver will also handle some kind of fudge margin. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So let me go ahead and clean up these nodes, which are actually stored in sets. So if I go over to my set manager, scroll on down here, you can see I have my crane head sets, 4 nodes, and then I also have my contact surface set and another surface set, and then here we have our cable contacts. So if you imagine, we have a cable here for this pad eye and another one for this crane and pad eye. What we'll have to do is basically clean up some of these nodes, clean up the sets that will be used in generating the cable contact as to where the cable will actually end up touching the hull. So if I zoom in, so maybe if I toggle this to nodes, and I'm just going to start kind of just cleaning up those nodes that were generated. Again, this will only affect the temp nodes that are laid here, and we will do those. And zoom in here, we'll just go maybe something like that. So little, gonna have to use some of our engineering intuition to imagine where that cable will lay as it wraps around the structure. So even same here, you can kind of imagine maybe somewhere here, this cable is going to be, tie here and then go and then begin contacting the structure. Okay, so this could take a little bit of time. This is something that we worked on, possibly automating. So still something in the progress. Nevertheless, we will be able to model cable contacting. Okay, so now that I have those done, I actually just need to select my crane head and my series. So let's go ahead and select our crane head. That would be this guy. And actually, I forgot one step. I apologize. We need to add in our set for this pad eye. And then I should probably also review it. So let me go ahead and click here, click there. And then I need to add in my last point there. And then here, here, there. And then when we go to our contact browser, there we go. So now we can see that we have this point and then these remaining points. And these will be used in generating the CGAP elements. Okay, so crane head, that's still selected. And then our contacting nodes. And as you saw, we have a set that's automatically generated. It makes it really nice and convenient to, selecting those. So let's go ahead and select this one. It'll highlight in the interface just to confirm that we, selected the right one. Click OK, click yes, and we should be able to create our cable. All right, so there is our cable model. So that's our first one. And so as I mentioned, it's going to follow kind of the layout that you did. If you want to undo it and redo it, feel free to kind of undo it, edit the nodes one more time, and regenerate them. So let's do it. Go ahead one more time. Maybe this time we will maybe select these nodes here. And then we'll select our crane head. Select our contacting nodes by set. And create. And then we'll go over here, and this one's the easiest one. There's a contacting node, create, and we'll do one more. Here's our crane head. Oops. So going a little too first-person shooter speed here. All right, let me slow down a little bit. And create. So again, if we go to our components, you can see we have our cable CGAPs. So something I wanted to kind of talk about here as well, if we go to props, and we scroll down here, we have a P-gap that gets generated. And this is going to be your axial stiffness. This will be your transverse stiffness. Just any cable or chain will have that type of stiffness, so it's good to always include that. Otherwise, you might get some instability. And then fundamentally what's happening in the background is if we click on an element here and we edit the element, from a solver perspective, what we're doing is flipping the behavior of the CGAP element. So typically it's used for contact generation, but here if we flip it, we actually turn it into a cable or chain type entity. So we do that automatically in the background and kind of assigning that here. And then also with regards to the actual contact that we generate, we do also apply a little bit of friction from the chain to the hole, the cable to the hole. Again, all of these parameters are really up to the engineer doing this design. If you want to have less friction, more friction, and so forth. So, but out of the box, these are kind of the base settings for the pcont property and the pgap property. And our constraints are already created, so simply just need to create a load case here. This could be, turn 90 SBC, gravity, and it'll automatically generate our necessary collectors. So let's close this, close this, close this, and you can see we have our contact parameters. This will output our contact gap FEM model. So if you want to visualize what the gap element looks like, that'll be just a visual representation of what the contact, where it's being generated. If we go to the global output requests, I've basically requested everything but the kitchen sink. Obviously, this could be modified to your own needs, but the contact force, displacements, element forces, grid point forces and stresses, single point constraints. Again, this will make a results file a little bit bigger. So again, it's up to you if you want to edit this. Parameter file. So we have just to ensure the contact stability, robustness. We have this contact stabilization enabled. And then for kind of troubleshooting and reviewing of the model once you submit it, we have this screen out option. So we have a number of other cards that are generated. Feel free to kind of look these up in our documentation via this name. These are basically nonlinear solver inputs. NLDAP, NLMON, NLParam, etc. So those can help you kind of fine-tune your analysis. So I know I covered a lot of material. I really appreciate everyone being kind of patient. This is the overall the general process for generating the cable, setting up the contacts, setting up the crane head locations, etc., and generating the load case. So that'll conclude this video. We have a couple more. And I hope you found this helpful. Please leave us feedback at our Altair community forums.